Welcome, my dear brothers and sisters, to the chapel of His Holy Light. I am Brother Sebastian, and before we continue, I would like to proclaim before you that through attending our Mass today, you have taken yet another step away from the miasma of everyday life, and you brought yourself closer towards the purity of thought. As we begin our meeting today, I'd like to ask each one of you, what is it that you're thinking about during your long hours at the factory? 16 hours I've heard that the shifts are these days. So as you push and pull at the levers, as you strike down with your hammers, and you lift up those barrels of ooze and oil, what would be at the forefront of your mind? I hope that at least every half an hour you say a prayer unto our Most Holy. 1 per hour is mandatory, as you know, but do you wish to receive the mandatory set of blessings, or the ones meant for the truly devout heart? I think you know perfectly well which one you should strive for. So, tell me, what is it that occupies your mind? The tiredness of your body. I'm sure some complaints must slip between the shields of your mind, but I hope you banish them just as quickly. Remember that the work we all do here is necessary for the Imperium, and if you were to slack, you, on the floors of the factory, or me, here in this chapel, we would be akin to the blasphemers, eroding the foundation of the Emperor's stronghold. We all have our tasks, brothers and sisters, and neither one is more important than the other, for they all contribute to the strength of humanity in this galaxy. Whatever it is that you're thinking of, I'd like you now to focus on the sounds that accompany your thoughts during those long hours. The turning of the cogs, the clash of steel, the ceaseless hum of the generatorium, and the unison rhythm of them all together. You are a part of it. Your body is a part of it. From the thundering booms of your exhausted heart, through the groans of your muscles, all the way to the almost silent drops of sweat on the steel floor. You are a part of this blessed machinery. Why blessed? Because of what I mentioned earlier. The purpose of this toil is the fulfillment of His plan, and if the cause is holy, then so too must be the process that brings it all to fruition. Two halves partake in this holy effort. One is made up of all of you gathered here. You are the will, the flesh, and the bone of this factory, and you are the part that is closest to me. I strive to lift the spiritual burden from your shoulders, to cleanse the malaise from your hearts, and to fill them to the brim with the waters of strength. There is, however, another half, the half of cable and the cog. From where I can understand you and the tribulations you face, my dear congregation, the inner workings of the sacred machine, the pathways of the motive force, and the calculations and prayers required to keep them all unified and in motion, these are a mystery to me. They require another kind of priest, those devoted to the sacred inner workings of this steel organism, the Adeptus Mechanicus. Who are they? I know that few of you have ever seen the hoods and long robes of the true tech priests. Busy, as I'm sure they are, here in the lower levels they usually just send their servants to inform us of their decrees. Let me then tell you what I know of these famous priests of Mars, their specialization, their forges, their aids, and the tenets of their faith. For although they put their trust in our holy God Emperor, they do so in their own peculiar way, one that I am sure will require some explanation. Although today you may find them overseeing the countless factories and forges on worlds spread throughout our glorious Imperium, originally they came from Mars, the red-dusted sibling to Holy Terra. Separated during those dark, forgotten days, two worlds grew apart, both damaged and both scarred during this time. As hidden warlords once plagued the surface of ancient Terra, so too did their counterparts raid and ravage the settlements of the Red Planet, until they were finally eradicated by the tech priests and their mysterious ancient artifacts. Sorry indeed must have been the final moments of some junkyard bandit who met their ultimate fate at the other end of arc rifles and plasma carbines. Taking control of the single planet was, of course, never their ultimate goal, for it was clear to all that the remnants of their god were scattered throughout the galaxy, hidden in the ruins of forgotten ages. And so began the great assembly of the explorator fleets, sent forth to recover those sacred fragments. Thus the cult spread, establishing their forge worlds and monastic enclaves where they could study, experiment, and contemplate on their new discoveries. By the tenets of their machine god, the technology lost on all these worlds was rightfully theirs, and as they grew in presence, they grew in strength too. As the explorator fleets ventured deeper and deeper into the cosmos, independence of established settlements grew. This freedom of discovery mattered greatly to the tech priests, and for the short moment when our most holy Emperor of mankind first took a step upon the great plains of Mars, it seemed that this independence might be at risk. Were the priests, correctly, for his is the power eternally unmatched, so the risk of subjugation, he, in his infinite mercy, saw an alliance. With the raw might of his space marines, empowered by the tools and weapons created by the Mechanicum of Mars, the galaxy would at last bow to its rightful rulers. Do not think, however, that where we, in our clarity of faith, see divinity, they saw merely a man seeking their aid. Oh no, such a thought would be a blasphemy of the highest order. Different as their beliefs may be, in our holy emperor they saw a part of their god made manifest. No matter how far the reach of the Imperium or the tech priests might extend, this union lives on to this day, still one of the most sacred foundations of our existence. Let me then tell you about the results of that influence, the most important forge worlds and their own respective cultures. For our overlords and their mechanical servants are but one cog in the grand system of the Adeptus Mechanicus. We have already spoken of Mars, but so high is its importance that we must bring it back to the forefront once more. There is no other holy forge like it. Wherever a tech priest of the Mechanicus may venture, Mars will forever be the original seat of their power and the vault of their knowledge. It is also a home to the great naval protectors of Terra, the great battle fleet Solar. Supplied and cared for by the Martian Magi, they watch over the heart of the Imperium. I will tell you about them some other time. Now let's speak about the forges. Lucius. So far from its place of origin, and yet so vital in its own right. Lucius pattern. Remember that word, my listeners, for it is a mark of endurance, strength, and reliability. From the lowly lasgun, the weapon of every soldier of Astra Militarum, through artillery and tanks, all the way to the mighty god machines, the tech priests of Lucius see things in their own way, and for that we shall be grateful. Thanks to their ingenuity, the far reaches of Segmentum Obscurus remain protected. I saw a machine of their making once, a great Macarius tank. Vulcan pattern it was, armed with its terrifying megabolter. Believe me when I say that seeing this creation filled my heart with rejuvenating waters of gratitude, for in it I saw the technical excellence that stands behind our Imperium. Also, within Segmentum Obscurus, we find the forge named Euphrates too. Ask me not what can be found there, for in this case the Adeptus Mechanicus keeps their secrets closed. The decree is that no lay person shall ever take a step on its surface. The existence of such a place should remind us all, that some things are just beyond our reach or understanding. So put your curiosity away and trust in the Emperor and his faithful servants, for they understand his will in ways we never will. Everyone has their role and their place, so let reverent ignorance be your shield against the evils of undue curiosity that surrounds you. I have already mentioned the Macarius tank, but as powerful as it is not the cornerstone of our imperial might. That title belongs only to the Leman Russ battle tank, named, of course, after the father of the Space Wolves, where the grey Astartes hail from the ice-cold world of Fenris. The Leman Russ tank hails from the manufacturers of the forge world Phaeton in Segmentum Solar. Each day should the Magi of that world receive our words of gratitude, for each day their tanks protect and support our sons and daughters across countless burning worlds. Yet sometimes these men and women may find themselves fighting enemies beyond the strength of simple imperial steel, horrors neither you nor I could ever imagine. For such foes, humanity needs weapons of a different kind. Risa, the dusty and acidic twin of Mars, is the forge best suited to this task. Many warbands of the evil greenskins have tried to seize this uncut gem of our Imperium, only to find themselves reduced to ash, made into the testing grounds for the tech priests and their arcane inventions. Torment and death are the exports of Risa, and for this we give our thanks and praise. Metallica. I believe that all which could be said about the forge world of Metallica should only ever be voiced in lingua technis, the language of the tech priests, crafted for its efficiency and purity. It is this purity that the priests of Metallica revere above all. Their devotion to mechanical perfection sets them apart even from Mars. Endless is the work on Metallica, and I've heard some say that it is entirely covered in steel. The goal of every being is to serve the great machine, be it as a worker, as a tool, or as fuel. If you ever meet anyone connected to that strange forge, you will know them by the pure white of their robes. Since I am but a simple preacher, able to rely only on my own voice, I hope the Magi will forgive me for describing their sacred world in just a simple speech. How crude and inadequate would they consider it to be? Remember, however, that this separation from the human element is what makes Metallica unique. It is not the norm. From the very beginning, it has been the unity of both the Emperor's tools that was the fundament of our Imperium. Humanity and machine both supported by one another. Ophelia 7, the world second only to Terra for the representatives of the Ministorum, such as myself, can also be considered a forge world. During my time there, I often saw tech priests aiding the servants of the church in maintaining the holy generatoria and the reactors, as well as in the hunt and punishment of heretics who turned away from the light and the truth. There you will see the true meaning of unity in the Imperium, the certainty of logic among the servants of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and the purity of faith among the agents of the Ministorum. We should speak about the organization and the hierarchy of the Adeptus Mechanicus, for chaos is the antithesis of efficiency. The armed forces of the tech priests will not be our focus today, for the armies of the Omnissiah are so vast that they deserve their own discussion. Instead, we will look at the different kinds of magi who serve within the ranks of the Mechanicus. This knowledge should both inspire you and keep you safe, my brothers and sisters. If you ever meet their representatives, you will know the respect each one deserves within their order. Of course, many among them none of us will ever see, but perhaps this explanation will leave you with the blissful thought of how capable the hands are that hold the survival of our Imperium. Let us begin from the bottom, for that is the place all of us know best. Here we find the servitors and the tech thralls, the lowliest servants of the tech priests. Sad must their lot be, with their heavy mechanical augmentations, and in the case of the servitors, the complete lack of thought or any sense of self. Do not pity them too much, however, for each of us holds a place they deserve. Work of the tech thralls you see each day is a necessity, for there are tasks far too dangerous for men and women like us. They need their augmentations to survive, just as we need the tech thralls to survive ourselves. We are all connected in this unbreakable chain. As for the servitors, remember that theirs is a punishment. When you see one, think to yourself that you look upon the body of someone who once strayed from the Emperor's word. That person died in spirit long before the tech priests took their flesh. The procedures they endured were not death, but simply a confirmation of death, which already has taken place. Walking corpses they were, sinners and blasphemers. Imperium merely made use of their empty shells. To make that use effective, there must be those who control them, and here we find the tech adepts, tech priests still in training. Their responsibilities vary greatly. Some take their first timid steps into the cult of the Omnissiah, while others have already taken their vows and are being inducted into the more specialized fields. These servants of the machine cult you may encounter during your life. Remember though that despite their lower status among the castes of the Mechanicus, they still possess knowledge beyond our reach and must be treated with the utmost respect. What are those specializations? Here we enter the ordinary priesthood, the fully fledged members of the Cult Mechanicus. These are the great minds we mean when we speak of tech priests. First, those most connected with the rest of the Imperium, the engineers and the trans mechanics. To them we turn when machines ail, when gears falter or circuits grow cold. Many serve alongside our navy or the regiments of the Imperial Guard, for it is safe to say that the tools of warfare are those most at risk of harm. Where these priests protect and care, others bring the wrath of the Omnissiah upon his enemies. The Electro priests are fanatically devoted to the motive force. With blue-tinted skin and electro circuits carved across their bodies, they channel holy energy to smite those who oppose the will of the machine god. What a terrifying sight that must be. I spoke earlier of lingua technis, the sacred language of the Mechanicus. Although known to all members of the cult, there are some who specialize in speaking to the machine spirits themselves. In information is both a vital and sacred source of power for our Imperium. Lex Mechanics are priests who guard this data, for they have delved deep into the scriptures and know the machine tongue better than any other. While they are guided by cold logic and ordered pathways of data, there are times when those may prove inadequate. The spirits that dwell within machines are fickle and strange. For them, sometimes reason alone will not do. I've heard that there were also rune priests of the Cult Mechanicus, keepers of litanies of appeasement and chants of consecration. As different as all tech priests might be from us, I think these rune priests would feel closest to me, for to them, as to me, the spirit and the soul are what matters the most. However, I do not know if they still exist, or ever have existed at all, for I have never met one. Above them in the structure we find the true authorities of the technological arts, the ruling priesthood, the Magi Masters. Their knowledge often overlaps between disciplines, so the divisions may not be as clear. The best known example is the Magos of the Mechanicus. These are some of the most respected minds in the Imperium. With hundreds of years of experience, their lifetimes extended through cybernetic augmentation far beyond any of us can expect, the vastness of their knowledge is unfathomable. I do not think you or I will ever see a true Magos, but should I ever stand before one, I would kneel in reverence, for their authority is close to unmatched. It is one thing to know, and another to predict, yet the first is the key to the second. Logis Magos understands this best, being experts in analysis, logistics, and prophecy through data. To their ceaseless work we owe our deliveries of raw materials and the food that sustains us. Remember their service when next time you hold a meal in your hands, for without them it simply would not be there. Where the Logis provides, the artisan creates. By their templates and schematics our work is possible. You could say that they are the mind that guides our hands, and through this perfect connection our labor gains its meaning and importance. Without their guidance we would be lost like abandoned children in the dark of the lower sectors. Our hands, while we may see the Magi replace theirs with steel, how aided they are by mechadendrites and machine limbs, we still toil with our own flesh. It may surprise you with their focus on the steel and the cog, but the flesh and the organic is also a field of Mechanicus knowledge. The janitors we call them, for they explore the chaotic and unexpected patterns of nature. Often they aid the explorers who brave new worlds, facing the treacherous beasts and other dangers born of tainted soil or poisoned air. These are the ruling sects of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Above them stand only figures of such unimaginable magnitude that I scarcely know how to describe them. The Fabricator Locum and the Fabricator General. They serve as the ruling deputies of each Forge World. Their word is law, absolute on their own worlds and in rare cases, binding even upon the Mechanicus as a whole. Where, as I have said, our chances of meeting a regular tech priest are slim, I assure you, we cannot even imagine what it would be like to stand in the presence of a fabricator. I believe I would simply be crushed in that very moment. You've heard me say the names Omnissiah and Machine God. Those words alone might suggest to you that these strange beings are the most worthy of reverence among the tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Isn't it heresy, you might ask, to place such beings above the Emperor himself? And these would be valid questions, my dear listeners, for the first step in rooting out heresy is vigilance and observation. It is, however, a matter far more complex, and Even though weariness is a commendable attitude of the devout mind, sometimes we must approach things with patience. What to us is the Emperor, the perfect unified being, source of our protection and the one to whom we send our prayers, for the tech priests of Mechanicus is a trinity, the machine god, the Omnissiah, and the motive force. 3 in 1 they are, bound together like interlocking cogs, each a different visage of the divine machine. So let's now explain them. First is the motive force. I have mentioned it before, for it is the focus of the electro-priests. The motive force is power, it is motion, it is the very life force of the machine. When you see sparks burst from the half-ripped cable, you are witnessing the motive force manifesting, for a brief moment, outside the system. You know to stay away from it, for it is dangerous. It will protect its purity from the invasive touch of flesh. The motive force, like blood in our veins, cannot exist outside the machine's body or other means of storage. That is why the tech priests care so deeply to eradicate any disruptions in its flow. As we are commanded never to take the Emperor's name in vain, so too are they forbidden to waste this power. It must always flow through its sacred pathways, for it knows its purpose. Respect it, dear listeners. Stay away from the flickers of its power, for it will overwhelm you, and painful shall be your end. Who then is the Omnissiah? Where the motive force and the machine god cannot exist outside the boundaries of any system, the Omnissiah is the physical representation of this trinity in our very world, the conduit and the messenger. It is also, by itself, a god. You know him by another name, the Emperor of Mankind. Yes, the Emperor is the Omnissiah. He is the machine god. So vast and so incomprehensible is his greatness that only he can truly know himself, and through his knowledge of himself, he knows every machine. No amount of study could allow a lex mechanic to commune with the machine as he does. No training ever grant an electro-priest the power to harness the motive force as well as he can. Only the Emperor of Mankind fully knows himself, because he is the Omnissiah. Only the Emperor of Mankind fully understands the machine. And at last, the machine god, he who gave rise to all technologies and schematics and made them manifest through his chosen disciples. He who created the systems that govern our world. He who, through his great work, established the rules of function, both for the bodies of the machines and for our own. He is everything, and through him, everything else exists. We have spoken at length today about our brothers and sisters within the manufacturums and generatoria of the Adeptus Mechanicus. I hope that what I have shared with you has enriched you, both in spirit and in understanding. As you go back to your task, trust that it is the Emperor who placed the overseers to watch over your work, just as he placed me above this pulpit and the tech priests above their forges. Do not hate them for their orders or judgment, for as I mentioned many times during this sermon, we all have our purpose. Remember, my dear brothers and sisters, efficiency is a blessing, for millions of his servants give their lives each day for our Imperium, and they depend on our work. I leave you today with a prayer and a sign of His protection. Share it with those of your families who could not be here today. Seek the Emperor, for he is salvation. Obey his word, for it is a shield. Trust in his servants, for they speak in his voice. Remember your place in his immortal shadow. If you'd like to join our congregation and be reminded about any future Mass, there are buttons in your data slate that will allow you to do so. Thank you for your time today, and I hope to see you here in a week for our next sermon.